point of this chart here is to demonstrate that there is huge distractions out there. So pick the ones that are going to work for your business and get them to work. You know, I hear people say, well, Facebook didn't work for me. Well, what did you do? Well, I tried it once and it didn't work. Well, that's not how you do social media. Social media is much more like public relations technology, whereby you're in it for the long haul. PR doesn't give you instant results, but over time it gives you the best results. You can't buy your way into a positioning. You can't buy your way into people's minds. But you can with social media, and you can with public relations. I love this quote. People buy from people they like. So if you are in any kind of business, whether you're selling a product or you've got services, you know, what you're trying to do is to get people engaged with you. And then when the opportune time comes to make purchases, you're right front of mind. The other day I was updating my LinkedIn profile, which is more business to business, and there was somebody I knew who I'd done some business for a while ago, and I asked him for a recommendation, like a testimonial. Bam, he does the testimonial, and then he sends me an email saying, I need a new website. I mean, honest to goodness, you go to ask somebody for, you know, a recommendation of what you did in the past, and bingo, you're right there. So that's about the best example I can cite to you. But just think about it. Where do you purchase goods and services? You go to places, you know, that you like. So this is a case study taken from Inc. magazine, and it's now Happy Family is now the second fastest growing food company in the United States. And they really worked social media. They used blogging, they used Facebook, they used Twitter, and they are a real success story using social media, you know, to build this brand, to build this business. And some great application here. So this is a viewpoint from Paul Adams, who's an author and been around social media almost from its inception. So he says, we're moving away from a web that connects documents together. Just think of the early days when we were doing searches, we were looking for, you know, pieces of paper that were online, to a web that connects people together, you know, i.e. Facebook. We're now seeing the things we have done socially for thousands of years move online. Exactly so. So all these tools have basically facilitated online word of mouth, online networking, online two-way communication that we never had before. So the emergence of the social web is simply our online world catching up with our offline world. The social web will grow, become mainstream, and eventually simply be known as the web. Okay, this is a quote from an advertising executive. In case you didn't get the memo, the sky is falling in on the advertising agency business, so advertising as a whole. Why? Because many of the things we've been doing for clients don't work anymore. Fault. The consumer doesn't want to be interrupted with messages. Just think about how you watch TV with sitting there with your finger over the remote. They're not listening, they're not reading, they're not watching. It's no longer about what you say about your client. It's about what the consumers say about your client that counts. So here we have, you know, consumer-generated media. We have testimonials online. We have all this activity going on. And so it's just, you know, the world is not the same. And unless you've got a massive budget, advertising is really not in the cards, you know, for you. So, and also the social networks are where people get news. They're not necessarily getting news the way they used to. Just look at the decline of the newspapers. I remember when the Los Angeles Times went from the sort of their old format to their new format, and the paper shrunk in size. It was about a quarter of the thickness of the paper. and I think they charge 3 times as much. So so basically the bottom line to this is we want to take advantage of these new tools and this new technology, which will make our marketing more effective and have a greater return on investment, and it puts you more at cause in what's going on. You're also going to bump into things called location-based services. An example is Foursquare, where people check in with each other and, hey, I'm downtown, you want to go have a coffee, whatever. Anyway, this ties in exactly with smartphone and mobile applications, which have skyrocketed, and nearly up to 50% adoption of smartphones. So people aren't just using phones now to, make a telephone call. So this chart has been done for many, many years and is very appropriate, very applicable to what we're going to be talking about today. So it basically is talking about what people trust. And what they do trust is recommendations from people that they know. That's the highest. That's number one. It's and followed by that is consumer opinions posted online. So the top two are what other people are going to say about your brand. You got recommendations from people and consumer opinions. So when you're creating content and when you're developing your marketing plan, keep that in mind. And way down the bottom, you got banner ads and text ads and ads. See, ads. Remember that earlier quote I talked about advertising. So not only is it more trustworthy, it's less expensive. If you can develop getting recommendations from people that know you, that is a lot cheaper than buying advertising. So old marketing, we shoved advertising at the prospect, cold calling, bulk mail, all these things, and it's not working. It's not working anymore. Yellow pages are disappeared. Just have the viewpoint that Google is the new yellow pages. So what the new marketing is, you have your brand and we have people talking about your brand. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to take advantage of. That's why you want to get recommendations on a social network or likes on a social network. Now you're taking advantage of other people who, from the previous chart, we know is the number one thing that people trust. So this all fits together if you really have this background and see how it all flows. So if you're a professional services firm, you're going to do much better by using online marketing, social media marketing. Not only are you going to get more business, it's going to be more profitable from you. This is a study done last year. So this is how it all works. In the old days, we had a website and it sat there like a lump. And so we would do all these activities to try to get people to come to your website. But as you had no fresh content, if they came to your site once, that's about it. They're never particularly going to come back again. And that's not what we want. So now what we do is we change our viewpoint and say, we are now a publisher and we are, for every small business, just think of yourself, I'm an online magazine publisher and I'm going to publish fresh content on my website. An example would be a blog. You blog. You're creating articles. And we use this little tool called RSS, really simple syndication. And it's built into blogs down. You don't even need to think about it. It's kind of like email. You press the button and it works. So when you publish content on a blog, it goes into the system called RSS, which allows other people to subscribe to it. There's news aggregators out there who are looking for content. They'll come and grab your content and publish it. And, of course, the big guys, the Google and Yahoos and so on, they don't create their own content. They rely on our content. So we play the game. We publish our content. We syndicate it using RSS, really simple syndication. And now we've got this two-way flow going on. and we get links from other sites back to our site, which is what we want, because the number one thing that Google looks for when they're deciding who to display on page 1 is the quantity, quality, and relevance of backlinks, i.e. links from other sites to your site. So now what happens is you have a much bigger readership reading your content than you ever had, because it's now being read on other places besides your own site. And then we take it full circle and we introduce social media. So this guy on the bottom right, he blogs about it, and the guy in the top right is on Facebook, and so he comments on it, and this guy over on Twitter retweets it, and Google Plus, he passes it on, and then the other guy emails it to his buddy, and of course all of this is all connected back to your website. So your website is your focal point of all your activity. Another thing to keep in mind is that Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and YouTube and whatever are the hot things of today, but tomorrow, hey, they might disappear. So what you do own is your website and any content you put on your website. So it's fine to use these tools. Just keep in mind, you don't own them, you don't control them. They can come and they can go.